Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and it's been a while since I've done a dip powder mani using the gel method, but today's mani is going to be perfect for it because I'm going to be doing a rainbow ombre using the C in Designer Dips June flavor of the month. So I have 9 colors pulled out here, but there are actually 11 total colors in this collection. So this is a huge one. But all these colors are from the Starlights line, which are probably my favorite formula from C in Designer Dips. So I was super excited to see like new starlights being added to the collection, as well as some older colors that are being part of this flavor of the month bundle. If you're watching this video on the day I upload it, which should hopefully be June 30th, today will be the last day that you can pick up any of these colors as part of the bundle for 50% off. So if you've been eyeing any of these Starlight collections, run to the shop and pick them up while they're on sale. But anyway, the gels I'll be using are from C and Designer Dips as well. So I have their gel base coat and their gel top coat. I'm going to be using both for this mani, but starting with my gel base coat. When you're doing the gel method with dip powders, your gel base is going to replace your dip base. And for curing, instead of using activator to cure your dip base, you're actually going to use a lamp, a UV LED lamp, to cure your gel base. The reason why the gel method is perfect for this mani is because I'm doing a 3-color ombre on each finger, and with the gel base, it's not going to set until I cure it in my lamp, rather than having to race against the air dry time of a dip base. Now I can take my time with the ombre to get it the way I want it. So to start off with, I'm starting with a thin, even layer of gel base to my entire nail, starting with my thumb. So I want to make sure my entire nail's covered, that my layers aren't too thick. And I also want to make sure that I'm not getting any product on my skin. If I do get product on my skin, I want to make sure that I'm cleaning it up right away. I am also dipping on top of full coverage tips as well as a layer of peel base. You may notice that the tips are a little bit cloudy, and that's just because I etched out the inside and then cleaned it out with some isopropyl alcohol. And the isopropyl alcohol does make the tips a little bit cloudy, but it was no big deal to me because I knew I'd be dipping on top of it. So the 3 colors I'm using for the ombre for my thumb are Maraschino Starlight, Valencia Starlight, and Satsuma Starlight. So starting with Maraschino Starlight, I'm kind of doing this ombre at like a slanted angle rather than horizontal or vertical. Well, I start to, and then it ends up being horizontal by the end of my fingers. I don't know what happened, but I'm starting with Maraschino Starlight. I'm dipping my eyeshadow brush into the powder, and then I'm kind of tapping it on at the cuticle area on my thumb. And then once I'm happy with that placement, I'm going to go in with Valencia Starlight. I'm just using the same eyeshadow brush. I just wiped it off on my paper towel. And then I'm doing like the middle section. So I'm just doing like my nail in like thirds. And instead of having to worry about tapping over the jars, I'm just using my controlled chaos to catch all that excess powder. And then when I'm done, I'll just dump the excess powder into my dump jar, because you'll see that after I'm done with all my nails, I still have almost full jars left. So it's not really a big deal if I just tap over the controlled chaos and then dump that into my dump jar. So I'm just tapping on Satsuma Starlight to the last third of my nail, and I am moving my thumb from side to side, making sure that I'm getting powder on my sidewalls as well. I'm going to tap off the excess powder, and then once I'm happy with that coverage, before I cure it, I want to make sure that I'm doing some cleanup. So I've got my precision tool and I'm running that around my cuticle area and sidewalls to make extra sure I don't have any product on my skin. And this is also my opportunity to clean up my cuticle area to make it as clean and crisp as possible. I find that this is one of the biggest benefits of gel method, is that I have the opportunity to clean up my cuticle area instead of like racing the air dry of a dip base. So I get cleaner lines with that. So I'm going to cure my thumb for a full 60 seconds. And then once that's cured, before I go in with layer 2, I'm going to dust off the excess powder. Because it's fully hardened, it's fully dry under the lamp, I actually like to use a stiff scrub brush to dust off that excess powder. So you can see it's a little bit sheerer looking, which the Starlight collection, it is a jelly collection with the most beautiful shimmers, but it is a jelly, so it is going to be sheerer. So I'm going to go in with layer 2 using the same method. So I'm applying a thin, even layer of the gel base to the entire nail. If I missed any spots with the first layer, I want to make sure that I'm covering it with my second layer. I think most fingers I did 2 total layers. My index finger, I think it was, I actually ended up doing 3 layers because those were the sheerest colors and I wanted a little bit more opacity just so you can see those colors a little bit better. Also, apologies for my voice. If you can hear that stuffiness, I have like some sort of cold, which hasn't been fun, but I'm really just trying to power through it because I want to have this video up and ready to upload on the 30th. So now that I have the gel base on all my nail, I'm going to do the reverse order of my powders. And this really helps the ombre blend a little more seamlessly. So I want to do the opposite order. So now I'm starting with Satsuma Starlight that's going at my free edge area. So I'm making sure to cover the same area that I did with my first layer. And then once I've got that covered with Satsuma Starlight, I'll then go in with Valencia Starlight and then Maraschino Starlight to finish it off. So always reverse your order each layer. So I don't end up doing a third layer on my thumb, but if I were to do a third layer, I would once again start with Maraschino Starlight, then Valencia, then Satsuma. So that really helps with like the colors and the blending. It really does make a difference rather than doing the same color order. I did miss part of my sidewall with my first layer. Like I didn't have good coverage of the powder. So I'm trying to pay a little bit more attention to my sidewall because I want to make sure that my layers are even and they're covering my entire nail from sidewall to sidewall. I just feel like the way that my thumb sits, like it's harder to kind of angle it to get the powder to catch that. I don't know why. It's just always been like a struggle for me. My thumb and my pinky are always like my trouble nails. Once I'm done with the ombre, I'm going to tap off the excess powder. And then again, I want to make sure that I'm cleaning up around my cuticle area and sidewalls using my precision tool. I want to make sure that I don't have any excess product on my skin. And I also want to crisp up and make my cuticle area as clean as possible. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and cure that for a full 60 seconds. So you'll see even with the 2 layers of the ombre of each color, and I didn't save the colors, the jars are still like overflowing. So once that's cured, I'm going to dust off the excess powder using a stiff scrub brush. And what I'm doing for this ombre is that the last color I used on the previous nail is going to be the first color I'm using in the next nail. So I'm kind of carrying over the colors. So for my thumb, the last color I used that's at my free edge area is Satsuma Starlight. So for my index finger, I'm going to start with Satsuma Starlight. That's going to go at my cuticle area, and then I'm bringing in 2 new colors. So the yellow is Electric Starlight and the green is Sour Apple Starlight. And because these colors are lighter, that's why I ended up doing 3 layers. Because in 2 layers, you couldn't really see much of a difference between the Electric Starlight and the Sour Apple Starlight. And I wanted you to be able to see the difference between like the yellow and the green. So I just applied a thin, even layer of that gel base to my entire nail. So now I'm going in with Satsuma Starlight, kind of at like an angled. I'm tapping on Satsuma Starlight at my cuticle area, making sure like about the third of my nail is covered with that. I'm still going to continue on using the same eyeshadow brush just because it makes it easier and I don't end up contaminating my jars of dip powder, so it was completely fine. So now I've got Electric Starlight. I'm tapping that into the middle third of my nail. I want to make sure that I'm getting my sidewalls as well because I want even coverage around my entire nail. And then lastly, I'm going in with Sour Apple Starlight. I'm tapping that onto the last third of my nail at that free edge area. If I weren't using gel base, I could have just dipped my finger into Sour Apple Starlight. But anytime you're using gel method, it's not really recommended that you dip just because it's going to stay wet. So you could displace it. You could push that gel, that wet gel onto your skin. So it's better to pour over. So I'm going ahead, cleaning up my cuticle area and sidewalls. You can see it's really sheer looking. I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. After that's fully cured, I'm going to dust off the excess powder using my stiff scrub brush before I go in with a layer 2. The other thing I wanted to mention is I wasn't the best at this, but every time I go to cure a layer, I'm trying to move my gel base away from my lamp because I don't want to accidentally cure my whole bottle of gel base because then it would become unusable. Like there's no way to save it once it's cured. So even though the lid was on the bottle, it wasn't screwed shut. And the lights don't only stay like within the lamp. Sometimes they can emit out of the lamp. So you have to be really careful when you're working with gels that are around your lamp. Make sure they're away from the stream of the lighting, as well as make sure you're away from windows, because if there's sunlight coming in from windows and you're working with gels, you could cure it that way as well. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're working with gels. You have to be really careful because they're going to cure with UV LED lighting. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking and let you watch because my throat is really hurting from this cold plus all this talking. So I'll just say that I'm going to do the third layer of my index finger off camera, and then the rest of nails, I'm just going to do 2 layers. For my pinky, I kind of messed up because there were 11 colors in this bundle, and 11 is exactly what I needed for this ombre that I was doing. But I don't know what I was thinking. Apparently, I wasn't thinking because I only pulled out 9 colors from the collection. So by the time I got to my pinky, I had Orchid Starlight that I had to carry over from my index, not my index, my ring finger. So that's going on the cuticle area of my pinky. But then I needed 2 more colors, which the other 2 colors in the bundle would have been perfect, but it didn't occur to me. So I just carried over the colors from my thumb. So I used Maraschino Starlight as well as Valencia Starlight. But I don't know. I'm kind of mad that I didn't think to use all 11 colors because that would have been pretty impressive that I could use 11 colors in one mani on one hand. But for whatever reason, I mean, I'm still happy with the way it turned out. I'm just still kind of mad that I didn't use all 11 colors and I only used 9 of them. After I'm done with all my nails, I'm going to dump all that excess powder that I have into my controlled chaos into my dump jar. So this is a huge 4-ounce jar that I've been using over the years. It's a very beautiful mixture, but I don't know what I'm going to do with 4 ounces of this. It's a lot. So for now, it's just going to sit there and collect. But anyway, in the meantime, now that I'm done with all my nails, I'm going to do some filing and buffing. But I do want to protect my nails and encapsulate them before I file and buff. So when you're working with gel method, it isn't recommended that you use clear dip powder because gel and clear powder do not mix well together. It's likely going to make your mani look cloudy, which you don't want. So for the encapsulation, I'm using a layer of gel base. I'll cure that, and then I'm going in with gel top coat. The reason I use both is because I tend to go a little ham on filing, so I want a little extra protection. If you don't go ham on filing, you could just use a layer of gel base, wipe off the tacky layer, and then going into filing and buffing. I wouldn't just use like a gel top coat because without that gel base, it could potentially peel on you while you're filing and buffing. So if you're going to use a gel top coat for encapsulation, you do need that layer of gel base coat. Or if you're not going to go crazy, you don't have to worry about it. You could just do gel base, but make sure that you're wiping off that tacky layer of the gel base so that you're not gunking up your file. I went ahead and filed and buffed my nails off camera, so here's how my mani's looking. And now we're going to get into gel top coat. So as I mentioned before, your gel top coat could peel if you put it directly onto dip powder nails because they're too smooth. So in order to avoid that, I go in with a layer of gel base coat first. So a thin, even layer of gel base coat to all my nails. I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. That's going to give something tacky for the gel top coat to adhere to. So once the gel base coat is cured, then I'll go in with my gel top coat and cure that for 60 seconds. The other thing I wanted to mention is as I'm applying my gel top coat, I like to start first with capping my free edge. So I'm just taking a little bit of that gel top coat and I'm running the brush along my free edge just to cap it. And the reason why it's important to cap your free edge, it's going to protect your mani and it's also going to help you with longer wear time. The reason why I like to start with capping my free edge first is because as you're doing that, you're inevitably going to get that gel top coat on the surface of your nail as well. So it's going to create like a little bit of a ledge. So if I do that first and then I do the surface of my nail, I'm going to smooth out the ledge in the process. Whereas if I just started with the surface of my nail first and then kept my free edge last, there's nothing really that's going to smooth out that free edge. I mean, it's going to level eventually, but it's going to take just a little bit longer. So I just find it easier to cap my free edge first and then do the surface of my nails. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles with my Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil. This is from the most recent release in the Happy Accidents collection. This is actually a mainline scent. This is called View Life Like Monet. I really love this one because it's a very soft, feminine, perfumey scent. So I get like cool, watery type scent, maybe like a little bit of plumeria, a little bit of berry. I just think it's a really nice scent and it's not overpowering at all. And of course, I do have an affiliate code with Scales of a Mermaid. So if you do any shopping, you can use code Genie10 to save 10% off your orders and support me. So that pretty much wraps up today's video, and I think this turned out so fun. Even though I didn't use all 11 colors, I absolutely love how this turned out. If you're still here, drop me a rainbow emoji down in the comments so I know you hung out. So I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.